Well. Seems like the time is almost here. Not too long now. I will soon be off to see the new Batman v Superman movie. This will be a very interesting event, as it is the first time that Batman and Superman will be seen on the big screen together in the first film in God knows how long. Sure, they've been seen together in like TV and stuff, but this is the first time on the big screen in movie form. I mean, sure, we've got like one, two, three, four, five. This is our fifth version of Batman on the big screen. Well, maybe six. And this is the latest version of Superman. And so, question being is like, will this be any good? Well, in a whole slew of things of interesting casting choices, hardly any news on the movie production, and a very badly done trailer, people were being a bit more skeptical on whether this movie's going to be any good. But more than any of that, there was one thing that was on anybody's mind. Was it going to be better than Man of Steel? I mean, not like, oh, let's hope it's better, even better than the last film, because the last film was so great. Unfortunately, it's pretty much the case of, let's hope it's better than the last film, because the last film wasn't that good. Like, at all. Seriously, when he came out first, it was like everybody was just so blown away with the whole fact of seeing Superman in a different way, right? And everybody was really excited. But when it came out, I never seen so many people online with reviews and stuff go back on themselves about a week or so later to give themselves a second opinion, because they just realizing how much it's like, well, when all the dust settled, quite literally, as some says, that the original Man of Steel wasn't good. In fact, it kind of sucked. But why was the case of that? First of all, the last thing we ever saw in Superman was Superman Returns, which was, while it was a pretty good send up to the classic Superman films, seeing as this was made back in the middle of the 2000s, and superhero films have moved on quite differently from that point, that kind of superhero film just wasn't really going to fit, and also it was really kind of slow, and some really poor choices. Plus, it was just taking all the parts of the original Superman films and just redoing them here in different ways. Not really a well done choice of film. And so they wanted to have it a bit more updated. Also, by this point, The Dark Knight has been popular. For a year prior, the final chapter of the series, The Dark Knight Rises, is closed off the trilogy for good, and so we needed a new DC cinematic universe to help keep things off into a new gear. But also jumping on that bandwagon of seeing of superheroes being in a hyper-realistic kind of setting, having them feel more, grounded in reality. Make us feel more grey and like in the real world, kind of how miserable everything is. And so they try to add that style of Batman to Superman. The only problem is that doesn't really fit for Superman, because that's not really the kind of thing people would want. Also, big problem is like after The Dark Knight Rises was finished, everybody was done with this gritty superhero-ness, because at that same year, Avengers had just come out and shown everybody the way that superhero films can be incredibly fun and super action-packed, and with likable characters and everything. And sure, it had dark moments and here and there, but in the long run, it was incredibly fun. That was kind of the big thing that everybody was looking for. And so when Man of Steel came around the corner, everybody was just in a different state of mind. Everybody moved on from this grittiness. But there are some people who still like it. But there are some things that I will give the movie credit for. The main character, played by Henry Cavill as Kal-El, or Superman, man, does seem pretty interesting. He seems to play the role of a big blue Boy Scout pretty well, and is like he wants good for most people, even if he does seem to act like a dick even out of context. But it does seem like he has the good intentions, whether he's always trying to save people no matter what. Now that does seem like a pretty interesting kind of way. In fact, one of the things I'll give the movie credit for is the first half of it is actually, well, in the long run, when you look at things like the script and the set pieces that keep surrounding it, the first half is actually not that bad. In fact, it held my attention for quite a bit for the first half of the film, seeing as it wasn't like constant action. There were a few set pieces here and there, but I was more interested in all the talking that was going on. When it was just like how to deal with this person discovering of his alien origin, and finding out a bit more about himself, and everybody trying to follow suit of this weird phenomenon that is Superman. If the film was just about that could have led to something very interesting and a different style of superhero film. I mean, sure, some things here and there, they're a bit different, like You didn't need a bus to demonstrate a bus randomly going off and crashing and saying that maybe they should have died, or giant oil rig burning down, or Clark Kent's father being killed by a tornado. Seriously? Tornado? What was wrong with just a heart attack? That seems a little bit overblown if you ask me. But it's like, speaking of overblown action, that's also the film's shortcoming, as in the last half is when the action starts, which is exciting. I do like a good bit of action. It seems well done. It's just throwing through all the marketing, but also it's like throwing through all the different pieces here and there in things we haven't seen Superman do before. It's stuff we're seeing here that is new and is actually got us interested. However, when the action started, it never stops. Literally, it just keeps going and going and going, and then they're fighting more stuff, then they're fighting more stuff, and then I'm watching it in the theatre, my friend falls asleep, 10 minutes later he'll wake up, he asks what did I miss, and I've said absolutely nothing, because nothing happened. Seriously, it's all just fighting, and at the end of the day we'll know that Superman will win. I mean, the film's going to continue on. What is going to change here? Changing here when you know the outcome sometimes, especially when you're not really doing anything super interesting with it. It's like, And then there's the whole big elephant in the room, which is the final fight scene, which Superman fighting in a giant city of Metropolis, but doesn't move the fight away from Metropolis. He's just crashing him through the buildings. What the hell was that all about? Last time I checked, Superman was in this to save people. That doesn't really look like... It's not that he couldn't save people, it's that he didn't even bother trying. He didn't even have a thought about the people that he's destroying around him. And that is where the problem lies. Not that he couldn't save them or it was out of his power. He didn't even bother trying. I'm not even going to talk about the last thing at the end of the film, because I don't think that bothered me as much, other than the fact that I just forgot about it really quickly. But in the long run, it's just like it was really good film for a bit, and then it just fell apart. And then on a second viewing, you start realizing with the overly cheesy dialogue and just really, like uber seriousness I was trying to do, as well as a few plot points that seem way too similar to The Dark Knight. But anyway, I've talked about this quite a bit. In the long run, it's like Batman v Superman might be good, but Man of Steel didn't really leave us with the first good impression. Whether it'll be good or not, I don't know, but I'll let you know on this channel coming soon when I see the film eventually. Might be in a bit. You'll just have to wait. Have a nice day.